Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video. And today it's been a while since I've talked about Sweden. And of course, the more videos you make about Sweden, the harder it gets to find new topics about Sweden. But nevertheless, there's always a topic to be discussed, even if I use the same country or the same subject. And today I figured we would talk about the work-life balance in Sweden. And I asked you guys a while ago in one of my posts on my YouTube channel with regards to how does the work-life balance look like in Sweden. And well, unfortunately not too many comments, but there was one comment which I appreciate. Gave a pretty solid response on how the work-life balance looks like in Sweden. And I figured perhaps I should do a bit more research and talk about it. And today this is exactly what we're gonna do. And there are 4 points that I chose or picked out that I would like to share with you. And let me know in the comment section down below if that's correct or if there's something to be added or any other future notes. Feel free to leave a comment. And also maybe not to forget, I think I'm also gonna compare whatever Sweden has with my country, Switzerland, and kind of make like a dual analysis of what we have here and what Sweden has, or vice versa, so that you can kind of imagine how things look like outside of Sweden, and perhaps also you can get to hear an outsider perspective on Sweden from a foreigner, so to speak, who never lived in Sweden, who never, really experienced the Swedish system there, especially the work-life balance. So, and I think it's pretty nice to start off by saying that Sweden has a pretty generous parental leave. Now, before I get into details in Sweden, here in Switzerland, we have a pretty horrible parental leave, so to speak. For women, it's I think about 3 months, and for men, it's only 2 weeks. And before that, men didn't even have a parental leave. So meaning that men, whenever they got a child, they had to basically continue working, go to work. There's no days off for them available. And only, I think like just 2 or 3 years ago, did we just pass a law based on our votes, our direct democracy votes, that men can have, or that fathers in particular can have a 2-week parental leave, and that's it. So that's as far as we go in terms of being generous. Now in Sweden, as I read here, Sweden offers one of the most generous parental leave policies in the world. Parents are entitled to a total of 480 days of paid leave per child, which can be shared between both parents. This flexibility allows families to balance work and childcare in a way that supports both their professional lives and personal responsibilities. Now, I know, for example, in Eastern European countries, the parental leaves can be even longer, up to 3 or 3.5 years. But again, that depends also on the culture, on the mentality, on the situation, the internal politics, the domestic politics of the country. So, and I think Sweden is pretty good on that one. Props to Sweden. As a foreigner, I think you guys are doing a pretty good job in terms of promoting families, promoting proper care of the child, and not just pure work and pure labor, and principally abandoning the child is kind of what we do here in some ways. Another point that I would like to talk about is the so-called 6-hour workday experiment. So basically, Sweden has experimented with the shorter work hours in an effort to improve productivity and employee well-being. In particular, the city of Gothenburg trialed a 6-hour workday in 2015. While the results were mixed, many employees reported better mental health, increased job satisfaction, and higher productivity during the shorter workday. This experiment highlighted Sweden's commitment to testing alternatives to the traditional 9-to-5 workday. So, in Switzerland, I think, when was it, like 2011 or so? So basically like 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, we had a referendum on whether we should have 1 extra vacation week. And the majority of the people voted no for it, for the reason that the productivity level would decline, that the Swiss economy would fall, and just overall, things wouldn't be good. However, we never really talked about having a 6-hour workday, let alone having vacation. So I think in that sense, Switzerland is lacking pretty much in all of these spheres with regards to, having shorter working days, and even the discussion about having 4 days a week of work, which would in principle mean that you would have to work 10 hours a day instead of 8 hours. But for that, you have, for example, Friday off or something like that. So you would have an extra day off, an extended weekend, let's say. And that conversation sparked a lot of debate here. And I guess in many other countries, it sparked also debates, except the fact that Switzerland is not even willing to give it a shot in some ways, while other countries have given a shot at it. And I think in that case with Sweden, I think a 6-hour workday, I'm not sure exactly of the data with regards to, how well that worked, as the source said that it was pretty mixed. The reports were pretty mixed, but I think I can imagine that the employees were much happier, and I do believe the fact that the mental health would increase and people were just overall happier. Productivity might have also, boosted. And yeah, granted, actually, if you think about it, me personally, I work 8.5 hours a day when I go to work. And honestly speaking, I think the most productive hours I have are most likely in the morning between 7 to maybe 11ish. So maybe about 4 hours. Then lunchtime comes, you have lunch, then you feel a little bit full, then you start to feeling sleepy and all that. And then in the afternoon, it's just kind of half-assed work, just kind of waiting for the clock to finish, looking at the clock every 20 minutes, hoping it's already 4 or 5 o'clock or something like that. So yeah, I do believe that humans are not productive 8.5 hours in a row. And if you shorten it to 6 hours, things might go well, perhaps. And while we're staying at the working system or the work systems in Sweden, Sweden puts a lot of focus on flexible working hours, and Sweden places a strong emphasis on flexibility, particularly in terms of working hours. Many companies offer flexible schedules where employees can adjust their hours to fit their personal needs, whether it is for family obligations, pursuing hobbies, or managing other aspects of life. This flexibility helps workers find a balance between their professional and personal commitments. So, and I think I have to say here that Switzerland is getting better at it, and we're pretty good in terms of having flexible hours. I, for example, also have flexible hours. I can choose whenever I come to work. Of course, there is some kind of restriction, like you can't come at 10 or latest 9 o'clock, but even 9 o'clock is a little bit pushing. But in general, you can come anytime you want from 6 to 8 in the evening, basically. So you can come at 10 o'clock hypothetically, but you gotta stay there until 8 o'clock or something like that. Or even earlier, or maybe 7 o'clock, I don't know, depends on how long you work, because you have lunch break and all that. So you just need to have a certain amount of time to work, and that's it, and you can go. And I think many other countries have it the same way. And before that, earlier, Switzerland was a little bit stricter with that. Now things have gotten a bit looser, especially after COVID years, and I think many companies have gotten looser in terms of home office and flexibility and all of that. And that includes Sweden in that sphere, and I think Sweden's doing a good job with that in that sphere. And last but not least, strong vacation culture. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier before that Switzerland is not too keen on taking vacation, and that we even refuse to have an extra week of vacation, which honestly, in my opinion, it wouldn't have really harmed the Swiss economy or anything like that in particular, but it's the majority that decided, and we have to live with it and accept the fact. But in Sweden, employees are entitled to a minimum of 5 weeks of paid vacation per year. The culture strongly encourages taking this time off, and is coming for Swedes to fully disconnect from work during the vacations. This approach is intended to ensure that people have sufficient time to rest and recharge, contributing to better mental health and productivity in the long run. Now, 5 weeks is, I think, to some extent common in Europe, not common in the United States or other places, perhaps. We have here as well 4 to 5 weeks, depending on your age, of course. If you're younger than 21 or 22, then you get to have, I think, 5 weeks. If you're between 21, 22 to 45, you have like, I think 4 weeks, and then it gets again bigger. So from 45 to 55, you have like 6 or 5 weeks or something. And then towards the end of your retirement, you have 6 weeks of vacation. So kind of something like that in that sense. So I'm not sure if Sweden has something like that as well, or if it's just 5 weeks for everyone, or like a minimum of 5 weeks based on the law. But I think every employer can decide how many weeks of vacation an employee can take, but I think the minimum has to be just 5 weeks for everyone, no matter what. So yeah, to conclude the whole discussion here, I think Switzerland on a whole scale has a few things to work on. I think especially on the parental leave, I think that's one aspect that I think Switzerland can definitely think about again. And then of course, for example, the 6-hour working day is something that I would like to try out as well. And also maybe a 4-day weekend would be nice. Now again, you have to always think from the point of view of the economy. And as someone who's studying business, of course, logics and maths and calculators come first into my mind. So it's not just about the feeling like, oh yeah, it would be nice type of thing, and kind of ignoring all the other, pure mathematical statistics and stuff and results and data. But I think I would definitely give it a shot in terms of just allowing employers to just, or the country for that sake, to just try to have a 6-hour workday or any other agreed amount of hour workday, and just see how it goes. Just let it flow, and then afterwards we can know for sure, does it work, yes or no, what is the data, what is the results, what are the polls, things like that, and then we can discuss it all we want afterwards. But then we know whether it works or not. Now it's just kind of yada 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 type of blapping, and nobody really knows for sure. Some are like yes, some are like no. So I think we have to put it to test and see how it goes. And I think overall Sweden prioritizes perhaps more happiness than money in some ways. I think Switzerland definitely prioritizes in some ways money over happiness. And to be honest, even though you might see Switzerland being one of the happiest countries in the world, yeah, it's not really the case in some ways. I think people here are pretty exhausted. There's a lot of burnouts we have here, and sometimes then you have to question yourself, is it worth the hustle, the struggle for 20, 40 years, working so hard like this? I mean, of course, I am for hard work and all of that, don't get me wrong. But, to some extent, one day you are going to die, and you never know when you're going to die. And, this could be your last day, and you haven't really fully enjoyed life while you could have. So, I feel like Switzerland has to really think about their overall philosophy. But then again, the other side, Switzerland is a pretty touristic place. There's a lot of businesses here going on, money, banks, and all of that. And I do understand why Switzerland is the way Switzerland is, but at the same time, the question is, how long can you go on for that? Because eventually we all get burnt out. So I think Sweden is doing a pretty good job on that, and I hope Sweden continues whatever Sweden is doing in that sense. I don't know the full insides for sure, but yeah, I think overall, I think we can stop here, and let me know in the comment section down below from you Swedish people what you think about that, if I was accurate from a foreigner perspective. And as always, I'll see you in the next video, and hope you have a wonderful day.